welcome to another TechHub.training solution video. This video will cover the solution for the challenge Excel Sales Stats Showcase. In this challenge, we're given a raw set of data where we need to perform certain cleaning procedures on the data in order for us to use it for further analysis. Let's start by taking a look at the raw data set to see what we're working with. Here in column A, we have an order ID followed by a salesperson first and last name in columns B and C. Then we have a region column here in column D, a sale amount, and an order date. The first thing I'm going to do with this data is I'm going to select it all and I'm going to format it as a table. So I'm going to do this by selecting the data, and then I can click Control T, and this will ask where the data is for the table, which is the selection that I've already made. And then my table does have headers here in the first row, so I'm going to keep that selected, and I'm going to click OK. Then we can see that Excel formatted our data as a table, and this will come in handy as we continue to clean the data and make sense of what's going on here. We also have added filters up here that are automatically included when you format a set of data as a table, and this will be especially helpful during our last cleaning step that we have to do and perform on this data. We can see up here under table design that there are a lot of different formats that you can choose for your data. I'm just going to keep the default that it's selected for me because I don't mind blue, but you feel free to select whichever one you like the best. Now that I have formatted this as a table, I'm going to select total row up here by table design or table style options. And this is a really cool feature that Excel has built in to automatically allow you to perform different functions to your entire data set. So in this case, we want to know our total sum of sale amount here. So I can just select this drop down and I'll click sum, and this will give me a sum of all of the data that I have here in this column. Under order date, I don't want anything on my total row, so I'm going to select none. And then over here under order ID, I want a count of how many rows there are in this data set. So I'm going to select count, and it says we have 95 rows. Now that we have our total row figured out, I want to format some of these columns appropriately. So first, with our sale amount column, I can select this column, and I'm going to go to my Home tab. And here under number and number formatting up here, I can select this drop down, and we want this to appear as a currency because these are dollar amounts. So I can select currency, and it will add a $sign, commas, and then will give us 2 decimal points because cents go to 2 decimal places. So here we can see that applied to the whole column. It's a lot easier to read now. And then we also want to format our order date column as a short date. Right now there's kind of a lot going on. It's a little bit hard to read. So I'm going to come up to that same number format, and I'm going to select short date. And now it's a lot easier on the eyes. We can see what's going on, and it looks a lot more clean than it did before. Now that we have the columns appropriately formatted, I am going to add a row here in column G, and the row is going to be called Salesperson Full. And if I click enter, then Excel will automatically format this according to how the rest of the table is formatted. So it knows that I'm going to append a column onto the data that I already have. And in this column, I'm going to write a formula that's going to combine or concatenate column B and column C so that I can have the full name of the salesperson along with a space in between the first and last name. So I'm going to start the formula by using the concat function in Excel, and there's a few different ways you can do a concatenation in Excel. You can also use the ampersand or the and symbol, but I like the concat, so that's the one I'm going to show. So I'm going to start by selecting Alice because that's the first bit of text that we want here. And something that's really cool about Excel and about having our data formatted as a table is that Excel is guessing that I'm going to write this formula and then I'm going to want to apply it to all the rows underneath it, which is true, that's what I'm trying to do. So it's saying, okay, we know that when you say you want to select the text Alex, or Alice, when we go to the next row, that just means we're going to want whatever text is in the salesperson first column. So that's why it shows up as salesperson first here in my formula. When I complete the formula, it might make more sense what I'm saying there. So I want the first name, and then I'm going to do a comma, and I want a space in between my first and last name, so I'm going to just do a quote, a space, and another quote, and that will add a space in between. And then I'm going to add a comma and select my last bit of text, which is the last name here in column C. And then I'm going to close out the formula, and if I click enter, then it automatically applies to all the rows beneath it. And we can see that all of these rows were successfully concatenated, the first and last name with a space in between. So we are done with that step. The other column that we want to add is called days since order. And in this column, we want to calculate the difference between today's date and the order date. So we're trying to figure out how long it's been since the order has occurred. And we're told that we need to use the today function in Excel in order to solve for this number. So something that's really cool about the today formula is that it automatically updates each time you open a workbook. So if I were to write this formula today, it would calculate the number of days that it's been since the order and the difference from today's date. But if I were to close this workbook and open it up a week from now, that formula would automatically update and add 7 more days to that number because today in Excel is always going to automatically update to the current date. So it's a really cool formula. There's a lot of different ways to apply it. And here I'm going to just use the today formula. You don't actually have to put anything inside it. You just close it out with a parenthesis. And then I'm going to subtract the order date. And then I will click enter. It will apply it to everything underneath it. We can see here why formatting is so important because it spit out these dates and it's really hard to tell if our formula worked the way that we wanted it to. But we'll find that if we format this as a general number, that it looks a little bit more reasonable. So from today's date, we can see that as the dates get later and later, that our day since order becomes smaller and smaller because those are closer and closer to today's date. So it looks like that column is created successfully, and we can move on in our data cleaning. The next thing we're going to do is add conditional formatting to column E. Conditional formatting is a super useful feature in Excel because it can make certain cells pop out and the data is instantly easier to understand, easier to see what's important. So it's a really cool one that you can apply in a lot of different ways. So here we're going to select column E, and then we're going to come up to conditional formatting, and we're going to create a new rule. Here under new rule, we want to highlight all the cells above $4,000 in green. So the easiest way to do that is to come here to this format only cells that contain, and this allows us to format cells with that with a value that is greater than 4,000. And then here we can see a preview of what that conditional formatting looks like, which right now there's nothing set. So if we click over here on this format button, then we can select one of these light greens that we like and select OK. And now we can see that the cell will be filled with green when we can apply this conditional formatting. So I'll click OK. And then we can see, if we just look at this quickly, that these three amounts that are highlighted are all above $4,000. So it looks like that worked successfully. Now that we have our conditional formatting, the last bit of cleaning that we need to do on this data is to filter for the north region. So I can do this by coming up and clicking this filter under column D. And if I click the drop down, I can see right now that all of the regions are currently selected. And I only want to look at the north region. So I'm going to unselect all of the regions, and then I'm just going to come here to the north, and I'm going to just click that one, and it's going to filter out everything else. So I'll click OK. We can see that our total row will actually also update, so we can see that there were 23 orders in the north region, and the sale amount also changed. So this is an updated sum for just these amounts listed here. We can see that that number aligns with the sum amount down here, so we know that that's right, as well as the count is 23, the count's 23. And like I was saying, the cool thing about conditional formatting is that when we filter for the north region, we can immediately see that there were 4 orders with a sale amount above $4,000. It's really easy to tell that because we changed the color of those cells, so they pop out at us, and we can see that there were 4 different orders above $4,000. So I hope that you can use these different data cleaning tools to apply to different data sets and that you learn something new. There's all kinds of functionality in these different features in Excel, and I hope that you are able to explore even more and learn new things. Thanks.